What's going on, everyone? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac, back at it with another Fantasy Football video. Today we're going to be talking about buy low running backs. You can go out, buy some running backs before your playoff run, and you guys inevitably destroy your league mates. But before we get into it, if you guys could, please go down and give this video a like. I am answering every single fantasy football question, so anything you guys have, please feel free to go down. Ask me any questions you guys have, and subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on so you do not miss another video. But with that, let's hop right into it with our first running back. And our first running back actually is the #1 overall pick, Jonathan Taylor, having arguably one of the most disappointing seasons this year out of all round 1 picks. And right now, it's been really rough for all Jonathan Taylor owners. I see it as really hard to win for most of these guys, considering you were probably too late in the 2nd and 3rd round to get guys like Nick Chubb, Mark Andrews. So it's really hard for these Jonathan Taylor owners. So a lot of them are going to be panicking. Their teams are probably 3-6, 4-5. So you can go out and get these guys on a panic deal, which is exactly what you want, because Jonathan Taylor has been injured and he hasn't had his bye yet, which is even better. I mean, not for the person trading, but you can spin a really nice story about Jonathan Taylor and how he's not going to be productive for you and everything like that to the Jonathan Taylor owner. But let's get into the why. First and foremost, he's the running back 36 on the season, which for the first overall pick in fantasy football, almost unanimous besides Christian McCaffrey. It's really unexpected and bad. He's averaging 10 points a game, 10.3 to be exact. That's really not good. I mean, that's low-end RB2 numbers. But even through all that, we've seen Jonathan Taylor dominate. I mean, in 2020, he was the running back 4 in standard scoring, running back 6 in PPR. And then in 2021, he plays a full 17 games, 1,800 yards rushing, and then another 360 yards receiving, having 350 fantasy points, being the #1 running back. So we know he has that ceiling. And while it hasn't looked great for him thus far, there have been quarterback changes, the line has gotten worse, a lot of things pointing negatively towards Jonathan Taylor. The Colts also got rid of Nyheim Hines, boding well for the confidence that they have in Jonathan Taylor. And furthermore, Jonathan Taylor, until this year, had not missed a practice in high school, college, or at the NFL level, and had not missed a game in high school, college, or at the NFL level. So, I mean, at this point, Jonathan Taylor's injury, very fluky. He's a 23-year-old running back, certainly not at an age cliff. He has everything you can ask for, prototypical receiving, prototypical rushing, I mean, everything you could ask for. The only thing is he's dealing with injury, so you might be willing to get the Jonathan Taylor owner to buy low or sell low. And honestly, I'm thinking with Joe Mixon's performance this last week, you might be able to trade a guy like Joe Mixon and get Jonathan Taylor plus another player, which, I mean, sounds crazy, but when you have a 50-point week, anything can happen. So I would go out and trade for Jonathan Taylor. But anyways, that's my first buy low guy. Let's hop right into the second guy. So the second running back I want to talk about is James Conner, and this is a guy who might feel pretty disgusting to go after and get. But let's look at how he's been so far this season. I mean, so far he's only had 1 game where he's had over 10 points. That was week 1. So it's been 9 weeks since he's had any real production. But at the same time, he has missed 3 games. So, I mean, at least it wasn't all poor performance. But also, we see James Conner in his first game back against Seattle totally outsnap Eno Benjamin, 12-5, getting 71% of the snaps. Yes, he only had 7 rushing attempts, but he did also have 5 targets for 5 receptions. And now that DeAndre Hopkins is back, this is going to open up holes in the defense. I mean, you can't just stack the box against James Conner anymore, which is really good, exactly what you like to see. And once Hollywood Brown is back, that's going to be amplified even further. I mean, the Cardinals are going to have great weapons. And with that, James Conner is going to be utilized more heavily. They're going to have more trips to the red zone. James Conner's had 1 touchdown this year. We know that's not who James Conner is. I mean, James Conner last year, yes, he was due for some touchdown regression, but he had 18 total touchdowns, now coming back down to earth with 1 touchdown. He'll come back. He'll have more touchdowns, 100%. I mean, it's just impossible for him not to. Yes, he does have his bye in the future, which is a little scary, but James Conner feels like a player you can trade very low on at this point. I mean, I could honestly see trading a guy like A.J. Dillon and a piece to get James Conner. And at the beginning of the season, if I had told you that, you would have said, is Aaron Jones injured? And the answer is no. Even Raheem Mostert and a piece for James Conner, I would definitely take that. But anyways, let's move on to our third running back here, and that is Jeff Wilson Jr. Jeff Wilson Jr. was recently traded, I'm sure you guys know, from the 49ers to the Dolphins, and with that, he joins another system that he really likes, Shanahanian style of offense here, and that means he doesn't really need time to get integrated into this offense. He's clearly the preferred back over Raheem Mostert, splitting carries with Raheem Mostert, but one, being more efficient with that work, and two, it's his first game for the team. I mean, if you're splitting work in the first game for the team, I think it's going to be more than okay for him, getting 9 carries for 51 yards. He is only rostered in 73% of leagues, meaning that it is possible that he is on your waiver wire, but if not, I mean, he's still going to be going for dirt cheap, because most people probably are of the mindset that Raheem Mostert's still going to be the lead back here. Well, I just don't believe that. The coaching staff has shown through their actions that they want Jeff Wilson to be the starter. They also trade away Chase Edmonds, meaning this is a two-person backfield here between Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. I think he's definitely worth the roster spot, at least. If Jeff Wilson or Raheem Mostert does go down, Jeff Wilson could be a handcuff back that ends up winning your league. You don't really need to trade much for him. You could trade some wide receiver depth. You could probably trade some running back depth. I don't think the market for Jeff Wilson is that huge, considering he's available in 27% of the leagues. Go out and get him. Go out and trade for him. I think he's absolutely worth it. And the next guy I want to talk about is Foreman. And yes, we saw Foreman look terrible this last week. I mean, 3 points, 43% of snaps. Only 7 rushes for 23 yards, but this was a game in which the Panthers were getting blown out from the very start. And yeah, the Panthers are going to be blown out a lot of games. It's the Panthers. I don't expect them to hang on in a lot of games. We saw Foreman get utilized very, very heavily. 15 points and 32 points, putting up 118 yards in both of those cases. And while Chuba Hubbard is coming back, I think Foreman is still somebody you should go out and target, especially on this 3-point performance, because his upside is clearly league winning. I mean, we saw him step in for Derrick Henry last season and fill the role to a T. Now we see him this season come in Christian McCaffrey's stead and fill the role to a T. Yes, he will have bust games because the receiving upside isn't there, but his rushing floor is going to be insane. I think he's absolutely worth it to go out and get. And you can plug and play this guy as a low-end RB2, high-end flex type option for the rest of the season. And you can get him for basically nothing, especially after a 3-point showing from a nearly no-name running back. This is a guy who's going undrafted in most leagues. In best ball, I think he was going in the early 200s. I was targeting him a ton. He's actually my second most owned running back. But I think he is absolutely worth it to go out and try and trade for. He's only rostered in 83% of leagues, too. And if he's somehow in free agency, which, I mean, there's a 1 in 6 chance he is, go out and get him. I think it's absolutely worth it. But also, I think you could trade for him and not have to give up that much in the ways of assets, especially because he was probably picked up right after that Christian McCaffrey trade. The next guy I want to talk about, this is more of a waiver wire type of ad, more so than a trade for, but he is rostered in 46% of leagues. I could also give him that trade for benefit of the doubt. It's Chase Edmonds. On one hand, I think Chase Edmonds will most likely end up being dropped from your roster. There is a chance that he does end up taking over the lead role in Denver. This is his first week in Denver, so we don't know if they're going to utilize him. They're going to utilize Latavius Murray, Melvin Gordon. Yes, it is a crowded backfield, but if Chase Edmonds emerges the head of this backfield, which he has a chance to do, I mean, as they went out and acquired him, that is absolutely fine from a fantasy football perspective, unless you're a Latavius Murray or Melvin Gordon owner. But I think it's absolutely fine to at least own him as a handcuff type of running back. And worst comes to worst, after 1 week we don't see involvement, let's say he only sees 15, 20% of snaps. Boom, you go ahead, drop him, no harm done. But if he comes out and gets 50, 55, 60% of snaps in this offense week 1, you potentially got a league winner in free agency. No one is talking about right now because he's been one of the biggest disappointments this entire season. So I would go ahead and pick up Chase Edmonds in your leagues if he's still available, and if not, trade for him for basically nothing, basically chicken scratch. I think it's absolutely worth it. And then the last guy I want to talk about is Mark Andrews. And yeah, I know Mark Andrews is a tight end. I get it, believe me. He is not a running back. I figured I'd give you guys a little bonus player because I love you guys all so much. But Mark Andrews is a player who consistently gets 10 targets a game, and at the tight end position, you're almost never getting that. I mean, it's basically impossible. He's going on to his bye this week, meaning he will have some actual legitimate rest from his knee and shoulder injuries. I think Mark Andrews is one of the most phenomenal talents in all of football, not even just fantasy football. One of the best receiving tight ends I've ever seen in my life. And he would have been due to repeat his 1,300-yard season had it not been for this injury. But fantasy players are a little down on him. Fantasy players need to win now. So you go out and trade for Mark Andrews, throw the Mark Andrews owner a nice bone. I'm sure you could trade him for a middle-tier running back 2 and go out and get Mark Andrews, one of the most talented tight ends in the entire league. Only tight end this season to average over 30% target share in their offense, which is actually incredible. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Again, if you did, please go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every single comment. I really would love to help you all out. And subscribe to the channel, turn that notification bell on so you do not miss another video. But with that, guys, hope you all have a good day, a good night, and a good life.